Okay, excellent. Okay, it looks like it's up. I'll just type something. If there's anyone in there, just happy to just type in the chat and just see. Okay,
Turn it off.
Batch, thank you very much. Thanks, Batch. We live.
Oh, pardon me a lot. I'm very sorry.
Excuse me. Okay, cool. Okay, let me just turn that down. Okay, we're all fine. Okay, we can hear everyone. Okay.
Hey, Sovereignty.
All right. Oh, it's a little bit of a laggy. Is it okay? All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you very much. All right. I'll just mute my mic. Yeah. Okay, guys. Okay, guys, I want to thank you for being here, Mike. I want to thank Mike. How do I say your last name? Katchan?
Yeah, you said it right then. Yeah, Katchan.
Okay,
yeah,
Katchan?
however you want to say it, man. Yeah.
Okay. So we want to first of all thank Mike for being here. Thank you for the follow, Batch. And well, this is Breeze Online Gallery. It's a virtual online 3D platform exhibition, however you like to have explained. We'll go through there and have a look in a wee sec. But I just want to draw a little bit of attention to the gallery layout. It's a virtual exhibition in the sense that everything you've got your traditional kind of four walls and everything, and you've got that 3D kind of walls and like a gallery setting, but of course it's all set on the internet, and this is to help bring. Well, for me, it's kind of like a way to introduce different artists and bring them into like a virtual setting online, and try to bring people together. All right, so it's kind of like that kind of has that spirit about introducing people and just helping people to kind of get to discover other artworks and create dialogue and discussions around the art and artists and experiences that we all kind of have and share. So I won't go on too much because it's not about me, it's about the art and about the artists. And so what I
just wanted to butt in briefly. And just remind everyone on my stream as well. So what he's mentioning, we're not showing it at the moment because you just got the webcam up, but for everyone on my stream at the moment, so Breeze's gallery, of course, can be accessed both through his Twitch and also through the link that I've provided on the Discord as well. Yep. So just reminding everyone as well, if you do want to go check it out, we've got the links to it there. Back to you. Sorry about that again.
No, that's great. That's good points. That's fantastic. So that's pretty much all I just can say. The real star of the show is the artwork, and we are really honored to have Mike here, whose artwork is featured in this exhibition. And so without further ado, let's get into the exhibition, and we'll get straight into the artwork, and we can get more of Mike's thoughts on it. So let me just figure out which one I'm supposed to.
Okay, so do you want me to try to figure out through my stream going through the gallery as well while we talk?
No.
I can load that up.
No. It's all good. So let me just take all this out. So what you see here is you've got the virtual online exhibition here, all right, and you've got a couple of catalogs, a catalog here, and you can just peruse through it, and that'll just take you. Now it should come up on the stream, and so there's a bit of a delay on my end, but you just go through here, and it'll take you through all the different artworks that are on display. Now we've got a menu up here. And you can click on the introduction. That'll tell you just briefly what the title of the exhibition is. You can contact or invite people to come and view this exhibition at any time, night or day, through the social media links here. And we've got the option to hide people, or just gives you a different feeling of perspective and dimensions. And this will tell you how to move throughout the exhibition, how to adjust your height, how to move back, forward, and to the side. And so these are very useful when going navigating through the exhibition. So as you see here, I'll just give you a quick tour. Let me just hide the people here because sometimes they get a bit distracting. So let me just take you through this. So we'll just go straight to the back here, straight to the back or front, depending on how you see it. So here are some artwork. Here's an artwork from one of our fellow Twitch streamers here. Here's more. That's Groovies. We just had a talk to her today, and here you can see the exhibition. Okay, so it's wonderful. There's amazing artists and with some amazing stories, and we'll get to learn more and more about them as the month progresses. So we'll just have a quick look around, and they're all different types of medium. And we'll just quickly go through. Okay, and you can see through here. So what we'll do is I'll pull up the catalog. So Mike, you can jump in at any time. You got to excuse me. The stream looks like it's glitching out or something. But
that's
Mike,
all good, man.
Yeah, Mike, feel free to jump in at any time. But what I'll show you now is you just double click on this image here. That's Mike's contribution to this exhibition, and it'll take us right to it. And so here we go. We're right in front of Mike's artwork.
I'll bring up the artwork on my stream while you do that. Then, so I've preloaded it.
Okay, well, we had something very interesting organized for you. Let me. Here we go, Mike. There you go. Now you're on the stream now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because of the people on my stream, we can't see your stream.
Yeah, that's okay. No, that's fine. So
okay.
Now let me just get rid of this catalog. Okay. So now we're in front of Mike's artwork, and it looks really interesting. Okay, it looks really
Thanks,
interesting.
Man.
There are several things that come to mind, but I think Mike is the best person to Mike is the best person to tell us. So Mike, tell us what is this artwork? What is it inspired of, and what does it mean like to someone like myself, or someone like a casual viewer, somebody who doesn't know anything about art, but they can really kind of get the overall sense of like, okay, here's the figure. It looks quite distraught, or it kind of looks distressed, or there's something happening here. There's with the clenching, the hand clenching out there like that. The figure like kind of like distorted in the downward, like the crunching of the torso looking down, and with the way that the loose style, and this like kind of like flickering of the head, the kind of like jagged edges. It's almost like, there's a whole bunch of emotions going on in here. Can you tell us about
absolutely
this?
Yeah. So with I think one of the best ways for me to describe it is to start initially by reading to you the foreword that I wrote for this piece when I initially submitted it to a gallery back when I painted it. So the painting is labeled Azathoth, which is named after a fictional creation by the author Lovecraft, and there was a little quote I'd mentioned at the beginning of my description for it that said, "At whose center sprawls the blind idiot god Azathoth, lord of all things, encircled by his flopping horde of mindless and amorphous dancers," from the Haunter of the Dark. And what I'd written afterward was another of my new forays into the world of oil paints, and another depiction of the transition from illustration into painting. This relatively degrading self-portrait / distorted caricature depicts to the viewer how I used to see myself, and this was in a glorified light at the time. And this would have been well, at the time it was to me it was, and that was about 5 years ago. And Azathoth was one of a collection of elder gods that were designed by Lovecraft to sort of lord over the background and in the shadows of his writings. They weren't really sort of dominant figures at all, but they were sort of just they were just there. They were part of the framework.
Yep.
And this one in particular was said to be the demon sultan sort of thing. So he's in the center of the universe, and he's sleeping. And the whole concept with him is that if he would ever wake up from being asleep, his dreams would end. And the concept is that the entire universe is his dreams. So everything would end if he wakes up. So the idea is sort of, it was a bit of a depiction of sort of the author of the artwork or the author of the book, because of course, you know, the author is the god in that sense. So the description sort of describes a relatively sort of narcissistic, self-loathing creator. So there's and then there's a bit more that goes into it. So the hunch that he's got, the aggressive stance that he has, the grin that's shrouded in shadow, as if sort of purposely hidden from the viewer in delight, as a sort of aura of malice to it. And they're all empty masks that basically exist to describe how tremendously well a mind can teach itself to hate itself. So while I can't speak for sort of everyone, if anyone, I know that my young mind had begun to attach that sort of logic and reason to all of the fantasies that I would tell myself when I was alone, just to keep myself from slipping further into a sort of madness. And so that was sort of very much how I saw myself. That hunch was very much me at the time. That sort of hiding of the face. Which coincides with the writing on the shirt.
I was just thinking, why does it say never? It says never.
So what I wrote here was, no and never I find are very powerful words. Often in old illustrations, I would capitalize on the empty shoulder spaces and shirts of my caricatures by scribing those words onto them, or other similar ones. I always saw the act of simply viewing art as a conversation between the viewer and the piece, and if there is one, then why not allow the image some vocabulary with which to combat the assailant? And words like never and no are quite strong words. You know, they're quite powerful. And so just to simply put never on there immediately makes you go, what's he thinking? What can never be? What's happened? What's wrong? It immediately creates a sort of distress almost that sort of emanates from his shirt, like never, I'd never do that. Like he'd almost never even consider you, the viewer, because is he above? Is he below you? Is there a power struggle here? And the painting sort of stands as context for myself, like so many hundreds of illustrations preceding it, so that I know when painting or drawing or sculpting future introspective caricatures, that face no longer exists. It has no reason to. Those shoulders no longer need to hunch like that to pretend that they hide some dark pain or spite. And the painting was specifically made as a reminder to myself that was a very large stage of my life, one which I'm really happy to have left. And it was part of a series of paintings, which were all describing a sort of story about where I used to be and where I came from into painting. Because oil for me is very much part of a transitional period into a much more positive mindset. So in order to help illustrate leaving behind the sadder mindset, I left a lot of illustration in the image. So you'll see the pants aren't painted. The hand is barely painted. It's almost like there's sort of this structural...
Yeah. You see the underdrawings. You see the underdrawings deliberately to kind of like let the viewer see that there is something beneath the kind of veneer of paint
that's exactly right. That's where it came from. And that framework itself in this image and a number of the other ones is sort of almost struggling for dominance, contorting the figure into a sort of angry pose to show sort of that's where I was, that was me. But these days, that doesn't really define me so well. I'm much happier now.
So when you look back on this, and you look, like, what kind of feelings do you have when you look back at this? Because, like, as all artists, you look back at your work and, you see some artists saying, look, that 1 year challenge or 10-year challenge, like you redraw works that you've done like years ago to see how far you've come as an artist technically and all that sort of stuff. So when you look back on this, like I guess for you it wouldn't be to um, it's not in a technical artistry like in a way like of being able to make marks as an artist, but it's like what you talked about a journey, and this is where you were 5 years ago, and so when you look
That's
back
right.
on it, it's not so much a technical aspect of you as an artist, so much as a spiritual journey that you had, and this is a way that this is kind of just what captured it, kind of thing. Like I'm
That,
just saying, like
that
it's how do you see this now? From what
no,
perspective?
that's you're pretty on the money there. I mean, I look at this image and I still love it.
Yeah,
The thing
yeah,
for me with a lot
yeah.
of my work that I look back on is I guess a better way to restate that actually is you think about if I think about comparisons because all artists we all love comparing ourselves to
Right,
artists
right,
we love. And when I think to myself about what's a good example, Giga is a great example.
right, right,
With Giga, for example, for instance, he's a good. Actually, it's interesting with Giga. He's a good example, and he isn't a good example because Giga is an artist who, when I think about it, didn't ever really try to or choose to evolve spiritually or as an artist, in my opinion, with his work. He very
right,
much
right,
found a particular mind space, and he stuck with it. That's
right,
fine.
right,
It's cool. But regardless of that, not thinking about that. If you're just thinking about the evolution of his work and what he tries to do with it, and you see this repeated with all artists generally, I think,
right.
is you'll find people find a particular image
Mm-hmm.
or a concept or a framework within which they want to say something.
That's right.
And once they find the one that they like doing, they'll just iterate and
Yeah.
iterate and iterate and iterate, and it doesn't end.
Yep.
You find that one thing, and I think the reason the iteration continues is because you're never happy and you're always looking for that perfect iteration so that you
Mm.
can finally let go of the OCD of the artwork almost and move on to the next image.
Wow.
And sort of with me, I think my iteration is almost the capturing of this very specific pose and character right here. I'm still drawing him. I
Mm.
still draw this. I still
Wow.
draw. I love that shoulder slant. I love the parallel between the slant of the shoulders and the slant of his hips. I love
Yeah.
the ducking down of the head. The whole thing is just sort of a part of almost my journey, my method of describing my own personal human experience. Very often gets translated through just simply interpreting it through this character, this
Wow.
sort of posture. And
Mm.
so when I look at this, I just sort of see a stage in that. I think at one point I glorified it a bit more, and I thought that that sort of was me, and I embodied me a lot. And at the time, that was true,
Yeah.
you know. But that's sort of a relevance that just changes. Now I look back at it and I go, "Oh, that's really cool. That describes me then." And I think if I were to do it again, I'd do it this way, and I'd do that, and oh, I'd like to do it this way, and yada yada yada. But I always want to go back and do him again.
And
I just want to paint him again.
and I guess I just want to say like when I hear you describing, it's almost a relationship that because when you look when I hear you say that you're looking at it, some people might look back at their old artworks and they might say, "Oh, well, I'm not really happy with this," or "I don't like this," or "Yeah, that whole thing." But when it's something like a self-portrait, and when it's something that's kind of personal and intimate, you look back at a certain time of your life, and when you've captured it the way you've captured it, you kind of almost look back with a kind of a fondness for something because
Mm-hmm.
here you have captured in that moment or that phase something that no one
Yeah.
else has captured and no one else has articulated but yourself. And no, and I think to be able to articulate that in a visual way is not only
Mm-hmm.
satisfying, but it's also like it's a necessary. It's part of the art. Making the art is to bring out what's
Oh
been
yeah, I mean,
buried.
art
Yeah,
is art is the journey.
Yeah.
Like without people being able to appreciate the journey of art, you think about that for a minute. If people weren't appreciating the journey of art, specifically for some of our biggest artists, we wouldn't have, or we wouldn't recall Picasso's Blue Period.
Right.
That was journey.
Right.
Picasso's Blue Period was just an interim between one stage and the other when he lost a good friend and he wanted to continue, and so he painted in blue, and that was to show people his depression, and everything about that was about the journey. It wasn't about making a particular piece and going, this is this, it needs to be good. It was him going, this is how I feel. This is me right now. And then you just move on, and it doesn't, even if you make work that's better later, it doesn't suddenly cause the previous work to become less good. It just shows the change of sort of, the attitude, mentality, and state of mind and frame of reference for the artist, but everything still remains perfectly fine, which is why context is so important.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
so I think an image like this is very much a painting about context. This entire image to me is almost like a series of artistic in-jokes about sort of particular wheres and whens in my career that sort of at that point in time culminated in that image. And I think every painting almost is that, but sometimes it's fun to sort of make a painting that is a statement about that.
Can I ask a question? I'm just thinking, sometimes I think random things. The clothing. Is the clothing specific in any way? Like, did you own these items of clothing? Is it like, or was it just?
I had a lot of shirts. A lot of shirts that fit in the way that shirt would. I had a lot of jeans. I always wore jeans and jean shorts.
Right.
That was he's very much dressed in the way that I would have been dressed.
Right.
But I never owned a shirt that said never. I don't think I ever owned any of the clothing with the emblems or symbols on it that I would draw. I always wanted to. People would always say, "Mike, you should start a fashion label," and I've tried, but I just fucking suck, man. My business ethic is shit.
No, I saw
can't
some
do
merch.
it.
You've got some merch, though. I saw you in your store. You've got some merch on your channel.
It's so crap. Yeah.
Wow, I'm not going to say anything, Mike. Come on.
It's fine, man. It's cool, dude.
No way, man. No way. So I think this is fascinating. I love the way that you've captured the emotions. I mean, when I look at it, I just feel like, what's that guy's name? His paintings just went up on auction. It's the one who did the Francis Bacon. It has that kind of Francis Bacon-ish kind of.
I've been told that sometimes, which is really cool.
Yeah, it kind of has that. I think it's that kind of the head and how the paints kind of smudged, merged together. It's kind of But
thanks so much. It's still very much like a new area for me. Oils, like it's something I need to return to. Just being in Warsaw at the moment in this sort of small apartment, I haven't really wanted to explore oils since. But the physicality of working with oils is something I'm just not. It's a whole thing, So sort of once I know I'm gonna live here, and I know I've got like a working visa permit, and I've got a place that we can sort of go, let's trash it with oil paints. Then I'm gonna get everything sorted. But until then, I'm just sort of working digitally. But I really want to jump back into oils because the experimentation with it is so much fun.
Yeah, well, that brings us to another interesting aspect about your artwork, and that's the man. We'd like to know more about you as time can permit. What I have a series of questions here.
Sure.
And I think maybe it might be a good idea to delve into those. What I might do is I might open up the questions to chat. If there's anyone in the chat that would like to also ask Mike some questions about himself or his art or anything that's sensible, then
I've got time to burn.
Okay,
yeah,
that'll
sure.
be fantastic. If you could do that, that'll be fantastic, Mike. It won't take us long, and I know you're pressed for time, so it's really.
No, I'm not really that pressed today. I mean,
all right, okay, well, that'll be great. That's great. So, just the basic generic questions, like maybe most people would want to ask. So, like, first of all, it's like, how long have you been an artist? Were you born with this kind of talent? to just draw what was on your mind, or like how did you become an artist? Or how long have you
I've
done
always drawn. I mean, I've always drawn since I was a young little kid.
Mm.
I think it was definitely more so a hobby when I was young. I think most kids when they draw when they're young, I think their parents just say, "Yeah, it's a nice hobby. That's a good hobby." You know,
Yeah.
nice, you draw. And, and I made lots of art, and I always pursued art as a kid. But I remember when I was in school, until I moved to Australia, I always wanted to join the army when I was like 10,
Wow.
and then I wanted to become an actor. That was my next big want. And then I don't think I had decided that I wanted to pursue art as anything more than a hobby until I was about 16, 17, just graduating school. And I think the main reason that came around then was because of my depression, and I think the level of expression that came out of that and how prolific I became at that point made me realize that was something I wanted to sort of stick to.
Oh, that's like it's just like you've kind of had all these different types of interests, like movies.
I think we all do though. I think we all do, especially at a young age. You know, because at a young age you don't know, and the school system, as crap as Western school system is, you know, there's a little fraction of it that's designed to sort of help you gain a semblance of an idea of what you want. And I guess it sort of pushed me to end up deciding that I wanted to focus on art.
Like how much of your upbringing has influenced your style as well? Was there anyone that you wanted to become like, or did you just discover your own style? What was it that kind of shaped your aesthetic?
We all have. Well, influences are huge. I'd love to know your influences, but mine. Michelangelo was actually always a big one. I love the classics. I love that guy. The masters are just super impressive. There's always been that slight. There's a certain grace to how they construct expression, specifically not just facial expression, but body language. The body language in the paintings that the masters did is so filled with grace and mysticism, and I find that that's lost in a lot of people's work, which is why when I started getting into contemporary artists, I really gravitated to heavy metal artists and a couple of comic artists, because I found a lot of them had the same romanticism for old poses and stylings that I did. Simon Beasley is a wonderful comic artist who always had a bit of a heavy metal aesthetic to him, who I always thought had a particular methodology of posing his characters that I fell in love with. Jamie Hewlett, famously known for Tank Girl and the Gorillaz. I'm sure you can see a lot of his influence in my work. This image in particular, you can totally see a small bit of the way that he would style the poses for the gorillas and their clothing in this guy. Because I think we all steal, we all adapt, we all take from our influences and take what we like and learn how to warp and distort it into what we want to do. I think that's how art fractally evolves in the same way as everything else does. And another big one for me would be Ashley Wood. If you ever look him up, Ashley Wood, I think you'd love Ashley Wood's art. He's from Perth, and his work is absolutely incredible. I'd highly recommend looking him up.
Okay, we can. Yeah. Okay. Just wondering if we could type that up in the chat for anyone who'd we can.
I'll type it up in mine. I'll type it up here.
Ashley, how do you spell it? Ashley.
I've typed it up in mine, but I'll type it up in the Discord for you.
Okay.
Where are we? I'll just message it to you.
Okay.
It's easier.
Might be easier.
Ashley Wood. Just look up that guy. He's incredible.
Okay, that's better. Okay, just for anyone who. And he's an Australian.
Turns out he is. I didn't know that when I heard about him, but he's actually from Perth.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah, he's internationally acclaimed. That guy. He does some
Okay.
sick work. Really multi. What's the word? He uses a lot of multimedia. He uses a lot of different media in his work. So like he'll in one painting he'll use oils and acrylics and charcoal and pen. And he goes to town. I
Okay.
find that so awesome.
Okay. So, because when I look at your painting here of Azeroth, and you talked about the underdrawings, and you mentioned Da Vinci and all those. To me, it's with Da Vinci. When I hear Da Vinci and the old masters, and you mentioned the underdrawings and like Michelangelo, it's it conjures up to me the respect. It's all about the word respect they had for anatomy and for
Yeah,
geometry, for the physics,
form,
for form,
light.
for actually the real
Yeah.
what things were made, the substance of things, and they were dedicated to those things. And
Yeah.
you see, they spend a lot of time on the underdrawings, and then
Oh
it
yeah.
just gets covered. And I love it when they archaeologists and what do they call them? The people that work in the museums, and they take care of the paintings and everything.
Oh
And
yeah.
they
Those
look
guys
at
are amazing.
yeah, they
Yeah.
are. They have a very interesting job, and they can go through and just they use an X-ray or something or UV light or something, and they can just go and they can see underneath the layers of paint, and they can look at the
Yeah.
underdrawings, the X-ray, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic. And I love that style. I love the devotion to things unseen, to the devotion to the aspects of a life of a painting that never gets seen. That's like it's like the birth. It's like the training wheels that get taken off, and we all see the final product. You know, doing a 360 wheelie and all of this, but you don't see the progression and the development and the growth of something. And for me, seeing the lines, seeing the underdrawings, to me tells me a lot about where this painting, the trajectory of where this painting is going, and to see that visibly is just as exciting for me as as the finished product. So yeah, to see what
I'm
you've done,
exactly.
it's
I'm
fantastic.
100%,
Yeah,
100% the same.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, okay, well, I was thinking you mentioned something earlier that I think we can touch on if you want to,
Hmm.
and it comes up in one
Sure.
of the questions here. It says, "What are the obstacles or difficulties that you've had um, in your location?" So we were talking, you were talking, you mentioned oil paintings and limitations, but are there other difficulties? Are there other obstacles that you've encountered?
Well, I suppose you mean in the creative process, or sort of in what context? I suppose.
Like, um, is it language? Like, in making artwork, like, could it be supplies? There are some artists that live in regions where certain art supplies are out of their reach, so they have to
Oh.
resort to using specific mediums.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes it's cultural things. It
Hmm.
might be political. It could be like where you live. Maybe
Hmm.
no ventilation. Like where I used to live, there was very little ventilation, and I used to sleep
Hmm.
in a gas mask. Like I'm not
Really?
joking. Yeah, no, I'm not joking.
Jesus
No,
Christ.
I'm not joking. I used
Where
to
were you
sleep.
living? Where were you living?
It's a studio, and it was a loft, and I also worked out of it, and
Where?
it was hard time. I
Where?
was yeah, it was I got some stories, but and anyway, I used to sleep in a those spray painters masks. I used to sleep with it, have
Yeah,
it on my face every
that's
day. I
insane.
know it was terrible, yeah, and I lived like that for about a year. Yeah,
Oh no.
yeah, no, it's sad, really sad. It's really
Oh, you
sad.
poor guy. That's
Yeah,
brutal.
it was
I'm
brutal. It
glad you're
was
not doing
brutal.
that anymore.
Oh, it's brutal.
God
No, yeah,
damn.
yeah. But yeah. But I did get out of the place. But every time when I had to come and sleep, I had to sleep with it on because
Whew.
the oil paints. I had paintings, and actually that experience, that entire experience, moved me away from oils. Funny enough, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Didn't want to touch
Well,
it.
I guess that
Yeah,
makes sense because you're sleeping and you're already in such a
yeah,
horrible
yeah,
environment, and then
yeah,
you're adding oils to that, and
yeah, yeah.
and the what's the got to use that the stuff that cleans the oils, and
Methylated
that's just
spirits,
as
your
bad.
terps, the terps.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
don't want to breathe in the terps either. Oh
yeah,
God, you need a ventilated room.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
awful.
yeah. No, it was wasn't pretty, but that's the kind of example I was talking about. Like, what kind
Okay.
of like for me, I should have gone off. Yeah,
Yeah, no, no, no,
but
God, no. It's great. Again, context, right? Well, for me, I mean, I guess it depends on your when and where. I mean, like back in Perth,
right.
which was sort of the birth of my desire to want to really pursue everything, right? Like I was doing it mainly because I was responding to a depression, and my biggest obstacle at the time was myself. I was absolutely my biggest obstacle because I was holding myself back. I was putting myself down, keeping myself from taking advantage of a lot of opportunities that were being given to me at the time. I actually had a number of opportunities in front of me. Things weren't as terrible as they had to be, but the human mind is a powerful, powerful thing.
Oh yeah.
And at the time, it just took over everything. Hey Barry, thanks Moodbot. But it just wrecked everything for me. And so fuck. There was a point where I was actually doing something similar to you, but not as bad. But I was squatting with hippies for about 3 months.
Oh right.
And wasn't really making any art then. But I was waking up to they had this goddamn little pug, and I would wake up to it every morning in this room. I had created a tent in this room out of mattresses because the sun, you couldn't escape it. And I would wake up, and this pug had done a fresh shit like every morning in my room. And I
good morning. It's just like good
dog.
morning. Yeah, good morning.
Oh my God. And there was only so much breakfast bong and toast that you could handle, you know, it was just
wearing on you. This is wearing on you.
Happy to get out of that. But again, that was technically a situation that occurred because of the fact that I was letting my depression dictate my life. And I basically hit a point in 2011 when I decided to I took a moment to sort of look 5 years into the future, and I said to myself, right, Mike, things as they are, 5 years from now, what's going on? And I was like, more drugs, alcohol, and parties, and nothing has changed, and you're still not happy, and this town is horrible. And so I immediately, at that point of reflection, quit my job, sold everything I owned, including this magic card collection that I miss so much, and bought a ticket to Sydney, bought a new laptop, and just booked. I went and lived with my grandmother for about half a year. Went to the gym every day, started eating better. Immediately, as soon as I moved to Sydney, I stopped. I cold turkeyed soft drinks permanently, just no more soda. I cold turkeyed alcohol for 2 years.
Wow.
And huge change. And just the change in physique, in attitude, in ideology didn't fix everything. You can't just put a band-aid on your head and go, you're fine. But it was proof. It was proof to myself, from myself, that if you really want to affect change, there's no reason you can't. And that mentality enabled me to eventually pursue the woman I wanted to live with, which is the woman I'm living with now, who I met back in 2005 on DeviantArt. We'd been friends since 2005, and 10 years later, 2015, I finally figured out how to go and see her.
Wow, amazing.
And and she had the same desire as well. And when that occurred, we met, we brought out our little personal demons together. We dealt with a lot of that, a lot of hard communication, a lot of tears, a lot of hard moments. But that was fucking unbelievable. It was like we took we might have taken some acid, but it's just on the down low. But it's fine. It helped But anyway, we reflected on everything.
Yeah. Do you think was there do you think that had you not made those decisions, had you not
moved,
bit the bullet and done that you may have never met her?
100%. Because it was so self-destructive, dude. Like, I used to live in a mental world where literally I genuinely believed that I had 3 demon kings living inside me. That each one of them represented a part of myself. I had one that represented my body, one that represented my soul, and one that represented my mind. There's actually a little bit of them in that figure that you're looking at in Azathoth. And again, that's because it means something. It's a part of that. I can't help it. They're always a part of my work. But that's fine to be able to sort of look at them and understand that's what they were, that's what they meant to me, but that's not what they mean anymore. But what they gave me in terms of artistic expression is still important. It still matters. It still gives me a muse to work with, something I can take from and reflect on and go, that figure looks really cool. I'm going to draw him again and use him as a method to express how people feel when they're sad because they ran out of milk in the fridge. Like, you can do anything with it. So, but at the time, I genuinely believed that they were a part of my psyche. And I also thought that it was a good idea to tell myself I was shit and that no one liked me. And then whenever I said those things to myself, I felt better. Like, I would say those things and my heart would feel relieved and I'd go, oh, thank God I'm the bottom of the barrel. And I could go on with my day. And it was that sort of mentality. And like, that's not good, man. Like, it's really unhealthy. It's really bad. And like, a lot of people glorify it. And when you finally pull yourself out of that and you actually realize it's shit, you start looking at everyone else in the world super differently. Like when I, good example, great example for you. It's a musical example, and it's fucking on point. If you look at 2 guys, Marilyn Manson and Trent Reznor. Now, there's a massive duality between these 2 guys. If you look back at mid-90s, sort of early 90s Trent Reznor, and that sort of when it uses just as Manson's coming out, sort of like Trent Reznor and Manson in the 90s, right? You've got these 2 guys very much outspoken about depression, very much outspoken about self-hate, a lot of introspection, very, very particular lyrics, very self-destructive, very masochistic stuff. But what a lot of people, and I guarantee you this, what a lot of people don't really consider when they look at the 2 different albums and they think about these guys when they're coming out is Manson is very anarchistic. He's very much talking about fighting back, about rebellion, and more particularly, he's talking about a lot of things that, for the most part, are actually just kind of stupid. He's talking about a lot of stuff like sacrifice and demons and shit, mostly because he was actually a little bit of an edgelord. Whereas Trent Reznor with his Downward Spiral album is creating an album that is from A to Z, very much discussing his dealings with depression, his issues with the cycle of drugs in his life and abuse and a lot of problems. And a lot of people interpret that as, yeah, this is what life is and life is shit and fuck you. But actually it's not so much that. But what's really interesting is that as the 2 artists progress and change and continue to produce work, you'll notice that Trent's work slowly starts to separate itself from him. Not a massive amount, but just slowly. The Fragile, beautiful. My favorite album that he's ever done. And it's still very personal, very emotional, deals a lot with depression and a lot of that stuff. Then you start moving on to something slightly more political. And then you start moving into slightly more ambient work. And now he's doing soundtracks. Whereas Manson just keeps being Manson. He doesn't stop. And to a point where he's almost wishing he was the 1990s Manson. His music, like, I think it's only in the last album that he's produced, I think he started to reflect on that and go, I think I need to grow up and do something different with that. And if I hadn't left Perth, I would still be Manson. But in leaving and choosing to affect change and reflect on what you're doing, what you're saying, why you're doing it, why you're saying it, and how that's being interpreted by the viewers. Like, what are you saying to people about you? Is there a reason that maybe people aren't hanging around you? Is there a reason that people maybe aren't understanding your art the way they are? Are you describing it to them well enough? You know? And I think someone like Manson is an excellent example of an artist who lost touch with the youth and with the people that he was producing music for, which is why his popularity just went down the shitter. Whereas a guy like Trent Reznor is still to this day revered as one of the most important artists that's out there, because he understands how to evolve and change and reflect and alter and just be true to himself as opposed to trying to please an audience. And I think that sort of journey it's so important, man.
Yeah. Do you think it's just as important for an artist to be like sober, like be, go through an experience, but kind of be sober-minded enough to be able to articulate it and not be lost into oblivion.
It's tough.
Yeah, and not be absolutely destroyed.
It's actually really tough. Because I mean, for the artist's health and sake, sure, absolutely. Right. But at the same time, and it's not to say that people should just go out and fuck themselves up. Yeah. But I mean, the world itself would be bereft of a lot of wonderful art if everyone did that. Like a lot of art really does only come from people who have pushed themselves to the point where they're at the end of the barrel, and they just happen to be able to reflect on that and bring out something so personal and important and raw that it just it just sits there forever. And I don't think you could have that if people were being completely restrained and on point and key, which is terrible, but it's just how it is. So I think the trick is to preach the fact that people should be aware of what they're doing to themselves. Be good to your fellow brother and your fellow woman and man, and be good to everyone. You shouldn't ever attempt to suggest to people, fuck yourself up, that's how you make art, because it's really not.
Yeah, because you hear that a lot. You hear the tortured artist, he's an alcoholic, he's a drug
and therefore art, it's fucked. That's really not correct at all. And the problem with that as well is it breeds with and melds with that tortured artist mentality, which is itself torture. I used to very much think of myself as the tortured artist. That was my whole deal, right? Like I was discussing my life and depression through my work. That's what it was. And I remember when I used to live in Perth, there were some guys every now and again. It's a really funny dichotomy, people who'd be really jealous of me because I'd be sort of gaining quite a bit of attraction from goth girls and stuff like that for my work, and like, oh, how do you get these? Why is it the goth girls like? Is it because you're a depressed artist? That's what I should do. And it's like, you don't know what you're doing to yourself, man. Like, I don't try to hurt myself in order to gain this. That's
it's not like you're going out to buy a puppy and taking it for a walk in the park.
No, it's a really bad idea to sell that as a lifestyle. Like, that's a terrible idea. And it's like, sure, it's wonderful to be able to appreciate that there can be silver linings to things. You can take good art from these situations. But the important thing is to just appreciate that people have the capacity to make good art. Not that they need to be depressed or happy or anywhere in order to make good art, because that shouldn't be the status quo. If the status quo was that, if you're not taking acid and mushrooms and drinking fucking all of this and doing all of that in your room and cutting yourself and screaming and drinking Jack Daniels at 3 a.m. and wanking onto a canvas, then you're not making art, then can you imagine imagine a world where everyone did do that. At that point, at that level of excess, the people who'd be hailed as brilliant would be the people who were sober.
Would you class that as like a form of performance art, like where the artist's life and behavior or antics, kind of like Dali and Abramovich, where their life crosses, like you don't know where the blur, the reality and art? Where they
I think it's like I think it's like Manson, man. I think it's context. I think it's a mix. Like when you start considering ideology and the way that people want others to see them, and the way that they want to work with their art, like someone like Manson, I'd say absolutely, for the most part, their life is very much art to them. I remember seeing a lot of interviews with him when he would say that like that's his whole deal, is that everything that he does is a performance, is art, is his thing. That's his shtick, But I'd say there's a lot of people out there who just happen to be, unfortunately, almost controlled by their mannerisms and their issues, to a point where I don't think it's fair to say that they're not without blame. They're not blameless for who they are, like you're always still vaguely conscious of what you're doing. But I think like a good example is when I was 19 in Perth making my art, I would consciously say terrible things to people just to get a response, because that was who I was. And that was what I did, and at the time I thought it was funny. And I still can't forget this, and I've already apologized for it to these people, and they're already fine with it. But it haunts me. That like I'd be hanging out with this wonderful man and his wife, who took me into their home to let me live with them when I was making art. This is an artist in Perth called Justin Randall. Him and his wife are looking after me.
Thank you, Justin.
Beautiful people. Amazing. And I said this stupid thing when I'm hanging out in the kitchen. I was like, his wife is there hanging out as well, and I can't remember what the context was, but I just said, "I'll cut your clit." I just said that, and she was mortified, and I thought it was fucking hilarious, and I was like, "Yeah," because I just thought I was fucking around having fun. But at the same time, later on, you look back at that and you're like, "What the fuck?" Why would you say that?
Under what?
You lunatic! Like, you fucking psychopath! That's and it's funny because at the time I didn't realize it, when suddenly Justin was like, "Yeah, I know you've been living here for 3 months, Mike, but I think you should move." And like when I look back, I'm like, "Yeah, no shit, Justin." It makes a lot of sense, And that was a performance, but I almost didn't. While I consciously did it, I was sort of guided there by the fact that I was so in my own shit and not really wanting to deal with it myself, that I just let other people deal with my shit. I just extrovert, sort of just throw it out there. You deal with it. That's what I'm like. And some people, when they're really young, everyone's impressionable, and you see that and you go, "That guy's a badass. He just said that shit. He just walked out of the kitchen like it was nothing," But then, there are other people who listen to that and go, "Fuck is wrong with you, dude?" Like, it's just
that's the. Well, that leads us nicely into the next question that I was going to ask. And what advice would you give to your younger self? What advice would you give to your younger self?
What advice would I give to my younger self? Believe in yourself. Believe in the things that you want to do. I think that's it's actually funny that you say that, because when I was young, every now and again, when I would come out of the bath all fucked up, I'd look at the mirror, and I would consciously look at the mirror and believe to myself that it was my future self somewhere in there, potentially looking at me through some high tech I don't know about. And I was like, "If you're there, I'm proud of you."
Yep.
I used to say that all the time. And I'd be like, "Whatever decisions we made, I trust you, man. It's cool." And I'd high five the mirror. And I'd always do that. And I'd be like, "You got this, man." And then I'd leave. Even though I didn't have it, I didn't believe in myself, I'd just say to myself, "It's fine." And I'd high five the mirror, which is brilliant, because it also means that if I then popped up in the past and was like, "Hey, turns out that if you just believe in yourself, and like if you just decided not to work and just actually listen to your parents and live with them for a bit and work on art and actually start doing things now, that things will work."
Wow.
I think at that point, if I saw that, I would have been like, "Get the fuck out. All right, let's try this."
Yeah, well, that's the thing, Would you listen to yourself?
Like
Would your younger self have listened to you now?
annoyingly enough, I know he would have tried to listen. I don't know how well he would have, but I know my younger self well enough to know that if my older self had come through and said, "I am your older self, and I'm successful at a very late age, and could have been earlier," and then just said stuff to him, then he would have been like, "Oh fuck, get out," all right, let's try it.
Oh.
But yeah, never really listened to advice as a young man. I don't think many of us do. We all think we know what we're doing.
Well,
we all think we're fine.
Well, talking as a almost like talking to your younger self, I had thoughts. I had thoughts of children. Are there any thoughts or ambitions of having a family in the not too distant future for you?
That came out of nowhere. I love it, but it came out of nowhere. I mean,
that's what I mean.
We've thought about it.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest issues and things when thinking about that kind of stuff is just life is crazy right now, man.
Yeah.
Like, you think about the concept of having a kid and you're like, yeah, maybe. But World War III, dude. And all these weird people out there and the influences in the schools and just, I don't know, there's a lot out there that kind of just makes me go like, that's a lot of variables you've got to deal with.
Yeah, there is a lot of variables, yeah.
It's a lot of variables. And at the moment, neither of us feels completely capable of handling them. So the thought has been put out there and we both like the idea. But at the same time, we've also both been like, let's just back up for a bit.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we're stable, I think, and like, ready to handle it, and then I think possible. I think it's possible. Totally. I reckon I'd be a dope dad.
I think
if I was a dad, I would fucking stream with my kid and bring him up here, and we'd just be personalities together.
I think you'd be. I think you'd have a great family.
Me too. Thank you.
That's well, we're getting close to the end, Mike. We just have a couple more questions. For you, we've really enjoyed listening to you and your stories, and you've been very frank and
it's the only way. It's the only way to be, man.
Yeah,
that's the best way to make good art is to be super honest. I keep noticing this, and it's bizarre.
And we love you for it. I mean, we love the art. We love your personality. We love the effort that you bring, not only to life and to your relationship, but also to your streams. And the people that you help out. And we just like to take the moment to just say, Mike, keep up the great work. And for
thanks, man.
You're welcome. If for everyone here, we'd just like to say that Mike, we've got your links and everything. You can go into the actual exhibition, and if you go up to the right, if you go up to the corner here and you click, a description will come out, and what you can do is there'll be a invite, little tab that you can click on that says invite or inquire, and if you close that, there'll be also a link that says media, and that'll take you straight to Mike's Twitch channel, and we've got a whole bunch of other links and descriptions there if you want to find out more about Mike, where to find him. So Mike, about your social media and about your artwork, where can people find out about you? Do you sell art online? What's the deal?
I am horrible at all of that. The best way to buy art from me is to come to my Twitch and ask me.
Okay,
that's the best thing
there
you can
do.
Guys? I'm terrible, man. I have a website. It's and I'll link it to you in Discord.
Yep.
I do actually have a website. It's mkatchan.com. I don't know if it's currently up on it. I might have to pay again for it. I'm not sure, but mkatchan.com is the site. And it's not updated. I really need to fucking update it. But it does have the oil paintings there, so you can see my oil works there. Okay. None of my contemporary digital stuff is there. Just a bunch of horse shit. But the oil paintings are there. And yeah, just come to my Twitch. If you like my shit, come to my Twitch. It's the best thing.
That's the best thing. Yeah. Okay. So guys, we have a couple more questions. Just like basic questions that people might be interested in. People might want to ask, like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food, movie, and music?
They're fun questions. Oh, my favorite color.
What's your favorite color?
Whoa, that's a tough one. I think it might be. I think it might be a slightly grayish teal.
Grayish teal. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just a slightly dead gray teal is probably my favorite color.
Nice one.
Probably.
Your favorite food?
My favorite food. Okay.
It's a hard one, I know. So much.
This is fucked, man. I can't.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I know.
I'm gonna have to default to pasta.
Ooh.
I'm gonna have to go with spaghetti.
Ooh.
Because everyone knows my noodle fetish.
Ooh.
Anyone who comes to my channel has seen me just rock out on noodles. I can't stop just vacuuming them up, and I kind of feel like they're just Japanese spaghetti. You know, it's the same thing.
Nice.
And I love spaghetti, and I love sushi as well. Wicked, it's hard, but I think we're gonna go with spaghetti.
No, that's good. That's a good pick.
Favorite food, yeah.
And movie.
What about you?
Me, I love pasta. Anything pasta. I like lasagna, spaghetti, bolognese.
Is that your most favorite though? Maybe you've got a different favorite. I don't know.
I like anything with potato, like potato top pies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Potato, yeah.
Quiche. I like quiches.
Pizza. Speaking of, I'm gonna give you a new recipe right now, man. It's super easy.
Yeah.
Everyone can remember it. Super pissed, guys. So, go down to the shop. You buy. This is our new favorite thing. You buy one cauliflower.
One, yeah.
Just like a whole cauliflower, and then you get a whole garlic.
Whoa.
Yeah. So a whole cauliflower, whole garlic. Yeah, and then at home, you have like the baking pot, like the big thing that you put in the oven.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. You base that with olive oil so that it's covered. Then you take that cauliflower, give it a clean if you need to, whatever. Open the whole thing up. Take all the heads out of the little florets. Just make them all like edible sized bites. Yeah. Take the whole cauliflower of these things and dump them in there once you've done that, separated them. Take every single clove of garlic and just cut them up to whatever size you prefer. Mince some of them, keep some of them whole. Do whatever you want. Just whole thing of garlic. Throw all the cloves in there once you're done with them. Salt and pepper to taste, the whole area. About 2 tablespoons worth of olive oil, again, just over this whole deal. Then mix it all up a bit with a wooden spoon in there. Just get it all really nice and mixed up. Preheat your oven to 225 degrees Celsius. I think it's about 400 Fahrenheit. I can't remember. Nice. Throw that shit in the oven for about 45 minutes, and halfway through that period, just pull it out, give it another stir, put it back in, keep it going. Once it's done, it should look slightly burnt. Trust me, it's the best. And then when you open that shit up, slightly burnt, and you're going to pull that thing out. Before you pull out entirely, just put as fucking much grated Parmesan in there as you want. And then after that, put it back in for another 5 minutes, and then literally, unless you want to add some chicken to that, which we do because we just like some meat in there, but you don't need to. Cook some chicken on the side, add that to the dish, you're done. And I guarantee you, it's just mouthgasm. It's the best. It's so good. It's so healthy.
That's fantastic. One question: what if you don't have any Parmesan in the kitchen or in the fridge? Any other type of cheese, or just you have to have Parmesan?
Oh God, no! Don't get me wrong. I think Parmesan is the best one that you could possibly use. But I mean, we love all cheese. We all cheese is treated equal in this house. Like if you've got goat cheese, if you've got mozzarella, whatevs. It's fine.
Okay, all right. Okay, I hear you. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Well, there you go, guys. That's straight from Mike's kitchen.
And my favorite movie is probably.
Oh, that's a hard one as well.
Can I give you 2?
Yeah, you can.
Can I give you 3?
Yeah, you can give us as much as you like. We'd love to hear.
I'll give you 3.
Yeah, 3.
I'll give you 3.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you three.
Okay.
The 1986 Transformers movie.
Is that the first one? Is
Yeah.
that with who's that with?
Cartoons. It's a cartoon.
Oh, okay.
If you haven't watched it, get your shit in gear and watch it. It's the best thing.
Okay. All right. We got homework. We got homework.
It's really a terrible movie, but it's my favorite. But that's one of the movies. And then the soundtrack is amazing. And then we have Fight Club.
Fight Club.
The fact that Fight Club is such a brilliant social commentary on everything that's wrong with men. And the fact that at the very same time, it's also one of the most well constructed films I've ever watched.
Wow.
And the score to that movie is the only album that the Dust Brothers ever produced. Well, for them, like it's their music. It just blows my mind. I just can't gush enough about Fight Club. Everything about that movie is amazing. And then the third movie is The Witch.
Ooh. The Witch.
The itch, the witch with sort of like those two old school V's to make the W. It's a horror movie that, in my opinion, has kickstarted the renaissance of modern day horror that does not rely on jump scares and is actually well made. Wow. And it is necessary viewing. Ooh. I could list off millions more movies for you that are like almost on the same level as these that I love, but I'm just gonna give you three.
Yeah, no, three's plenty. Three's plenty. I mean, well, I'd have to go and look these movies up. I don't think I've ever heard of the Witch. Is there
Jesus God? Do you like horror movies?
I grew up on them. I do and I don't. Yeah, I kind of
Dude. Oh, okay. Oh, you're in luck. Okay, so can you? I have two movies for you then.
Yep.
So you need to watch The Witch. You actually need to, and then once you've watched The Witch, you need to watch Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Yeah.
Is it anyone we know? Anyone we know in those?
The Witch has an actress in it, a young lady who's been in a lot of big movies recently, but I can't recall any. There's an old lady in it who I know you might have seen, but for the most part, very underrated actors in that movie. And Hereditary is very much the same, which speaks to the credit of both of them, because it's wonderful when you watch movies with actors that you haven't seen before, because you don't know how to judge them and you don't think about them as sort of, oh, that's Angelina Jolie. You don't think about, that's not in your brain. You're you're just watching them as people. But Jesus Christ, man, if you like horrors a small bit, you owe it to yourself. The Witch and Hereditary. Okay. Guaranteed. So good.
Nice one. Okay. And what kind of music do you like? We know that you're a connoisseur of music. I mean, you were just dropping some deep knowledge. So I love you got a lot of music. I mean, I come to your channel and I have to be honest, part of it is the music you have. You got tremendous taste in music. And if there's anyone here that I just want to say that Mike, if you can agree, Mike has some fantastic taste in music. And I've been known to like come and take a few titles, away and add that to my collection, and I listen to it, and I just love coming and watching you make some artwork and talking, and just listening to the music. It's fantastic, man. Love it.
Thanks so much, man. Well, I'll give you guys my favorite track of all time then.
Oh wow, that's gonna be
it clearly is, because last year. Well, just as last year ended, coming into January of this year, you know how Spotify does those little lists and it gives you information? Right. So coming into this year, Spotify was like, you've listened to this track in the last year 976,000 hours.
Wow.
Hours.
Okay.
Of this one track.
Wow. Okay. So who? Wow.
So this is a track that I discovered only about 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
And it's like the only track by this band that I listen to. Like I've searched their albums and there's no track that compares to it.
Really?
It just blows me away, because it just sort of, when you listen to it, what you really want to do is just headphones, crank them, and just And you know what? Just look at the image that I painted when you listen to it, or just look at paintings that is just sort of just chill paintings. Just look at chill stuff. And this piece of music is called The Beast.
The Beast.
And it's by a band called Kwoon, and that's spelled KWOON. So KW and then 2 O's and then N. Kwoon.
Kwoon.
And it's just an instrumental ambient piece. And every single evening when I read to my love before we go to sleep, I have that on repeat, and I leave that on repeat for us to sleep to as well.
Wow.
And it's just my go-to piece of music. If I need to calm the fuck down, or if I need to read a book or something, that's the only music I put on.
Wow.
It's my favorite. I mean, I could list you again. I could list you heaps of music, but I'll give you that track.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to. You know what I'm gonna do now, right? I'm gonna have to go and have a listen to it.
Oh yeah.
And Kate, that takes us up to another one of our probably second to last questions. This kind of continues on from maybe a movie. Well, when you mentioned Fight Club, I thought there's a lot of fantastic quotes. And so the question I'd like to put to you, Mike, is what is your favorite quote and why?
From anything, I guess. Just my favorite quote.
Just anything. I just when you mentioned Fight Club, I just recalled looking at the next question. I thought, wow, Fight Club had a lot of pretty good quotes. Mike would probably have a ton of them. So, yeah, what's your favorite? It doesn't have to be from any movie. It could just be from life or something you've heard, or you know.
Okay. That's a neat question. Favorite quote?
Yeah, could be anything. Could be anything. And why?
Got me stumped. Okay.
And if there's anyone in the chat, if you'd like to answer that same question, what is your favorite quote?
Yeah.
So if you'd like to,
I'd love to hear him.
Think about that. You can think about that while Mike.
Yeah, I'd love to hear him. If anyone has any other questions as well.
Yes, please do.
Let me think. My favorite quote. What's my favorite? There was I'm going to look it up because I remember this quote and I did like it. I don't generally think about quotes, but this was actually a wonderful quote. I don't even like this guy's art, but I loved that quote.
Oh, he's an artist. Oh.
Yeah, he is an artist, actually.
Is it Banksy?
No. I love what Banksy does. I love what Banksy does, but it wasn't a Banksy quote.
Mm-hmm. Have you finished your coffee?
Unfortunately, man, I just wreck coffee. It's horrible.
Man,
hey, Sparkle, how you doing? Son of a bitch. Where the fuck are you? You piece of shit. I found it.
You got it?
So this is great. This is a great quote. Okay. So it's not necessarily my favorite quote because I can't fucking. I don't know, man. Okay, but this is definitely. I remembered it, so I said it. So it's from Andy Warhol.
Ooh.
And it's just it's true. It's how I feel. He just says, don't think about making art. Just get it done. Let everyone else decide if it's good or bad, whether they love it or hate it. While they're deciding, make even more art. That is so fucking true.
Yeah.
And it resonates on so many levels. Yeah. I know so many people who get held back by just the concept of opinion.
Right.
Who will just go, I don't want to release this, or I don't want to make this, or I don't know, is it good time? Is it the right moment for me to release this art? Could people, how would people like this? Would they like me? How will this reflect on me if I made this? And I hate that.
Yeah.
I would much rather just make it, even if it's trash, just release it, go, it's what I wanted to make, fuck you, and then just make the next thing.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Worst case scenario, they hate it, and then you go, cool, I don't really care, and then you just make more. And it's it's so true.
Yeah.
Like, love that quote. Love it
You
to
don't
death.
slow down. Your stride, you're just like, you don't slow down. You just keep plump.
Well, I don't slow down in that respect.
Yeah,
I slow
yeah.
down because I'm a lazy piece. I slow down because I'm a lazy piece of shit. But I don't slow down because I'm worried about people's opinions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
I think that's important.
And Mike, what can we expect from you in the foreseeable future? Like, what can we expect? What's on the horizon? What's down the road here? What can we as a viewer, as an audience, of viewing your streams, as connoisseurs of art, as potential patrons, looking in at your artwork, looking into your life, what can we hope to see from you? Like, what can we expect? What exciting things are around the corner for you?
There's an audiobook project that I've been working on.
Oh, wow.
And again, speaking of being lazy, I could have probably had this done like a month or two ago, but I just haven't done it. But it's been, I've done basically all of it. The only thing that I need to complete now is just the Premiere editing. So I'm in Adobe Premiere, just piecing everything together. So I completed an audiobook of a story by Lovecraft. I've done all the illustrations for it, and I've pieced everything together. So I think after this interview, I might just jump into that, actually.
Sweet.
See what we can finish off for it.
Amazing.
And so that's going to get released soon. I'll release that to YouTube so that everyone can enjoy that.
Awesome. And you're on Twitter? Are you active on the social media? Like, people, like, if people can find out, but you're on Discord?
I'm on Discord. I'm on Twitch. I'm on Facebook. I am on Instagram, but the problem with Instagram is you can't upload to it from your computer, and just having to save things and then email them to myself and then change them on my phone and then have double versions of the image on my phone and then just uploading them one of them. It just drives me insane. So for the most part, like, I don't really use it. I know I should. I just I don't really use Instagram much. I'm on there. If you just look up my full name, just Michael Katchan, there's absolutely an account there. And on occasion, I might treat you to a picture of some good food. Like, you'll see some food there. But yeah, Twitch is the place to be. This is the place.
Thank you very much, Mike. That's Mike Katchan, everyone. And his channel is MikeInterestingTime. And please go and visit his channel over there on Twitch.